I'd like to start by calling my ancestors on both mother's and father's sides to be present within me, to honor the ancestors of this land and people, and your ancestors, all of you in the room. Thank you for gathering as a community tonight. It's great to see some old friends that I haven't seen for a while. Thank you to Mary for her warm welcome despite a broken foot. She brought me snacks and it was very nice. To Chris, who's not here, for his characteristic troublemaking, Dwayne, and the Seacology team whom I met today, were great people. And I really do applaud you for, being, as you say, a small team, but doing immense work around the world. I wish there were more organizations like you. I thank you for recognizing our humble, very human and heartfelt work. I had to have some notes here. The work really began with the question, can you help us? That came from Borneo while I was here in the US, and our response to honor that request from folks there. Many, many minor gestures, small, sincere steps, perhaps like yours, conveying that request that we heard, weaving across the Pacific, building little bridges, many little bridges, between Sabah and California. That's how it started. So it's a beautiful circling back to come here for this 25 years later. And I think the important thing about building bridges is that both ends build those bridges, not just one end. And this grew into partnership, east-west, north-south, that centered coexistence, making known what can be known of our shared histories, of place and people, and tending to process. We built relationship, generosity, reciprocity, trust. So as I said, it means everything to me to be coming back here 25 years later, to come to be in solidarity with you in this moment. That is really why I came for 3 days. The seemingly heroic journey is possible only with the village. The love, refuge, solidarity, and sometimes sacrifice of family and friends. I had a beloved community here in the US. Even when I thought I was never alone, never homeless, always held. Angela, who's here, Mark, also here, and Eileen, somewhere out there. Others, Tuck, Will, Carol, Chris, Jay, Leah, Marilyn, those who invested in me so I could keep the lights on, Nancy, Caroline, Susan, Dan, Meg, John, many more. I think you all know this. You in Seacology, all the folks that keep the lights on for you. And the dear men from San Quentin, where Angela did many years of work, who were in deep solidarity with us from behind the walls when we fought coal and won. They wrote letters to the Prime Minister of Malaysia. They produced a film. Troy, who is here, was one of them, and he's now a filmmaker. My dearest daughter, Sarah, who at the same time inspired me to be a good steward and had to miss her mother to travel and times apart. I think she sacrificed the most. Of course, a whole beloved team in Sabah, I think there's 70 of us almost, and now the hundreds of communities and organizations we work with, from the local to the global. We work in Sabah, as you saw, northern tip of Borneo Island, about the size of Scotland, if you're trying to get a sense of scale. A place and history, as you saw, with nature-based cultures and economies, fluid movement and trade, sultans, deals and colonization, missionaries and war, trauma and loss, nationhood and patronage politics. This today is the backdrop to a linear, extractive economy, driving social divides, deepening marginalization and separation, emigration and immigration, systemic corruption and patronage development. That's why the mega dams and that's why the highways. Sabah was a part of forming Malaysia in a deal that was not one that Sabahans wanted. And the promises that people make at those kinds of times, and then became the goose that laid the golden egg for Malaysia. So when asking for huge sums of money, they say, it's our money. It's all the trees that have been logged. We want them back. So the way to do it, to get the money back, is through mega projects. This is what the government agencies tell us. Why are you trying to stop those flows of money from coming? That is rightly our money. Are you tracking? But we're losing values of community and culture, natural heritage and ecological vitality, now intensified, of course, by the impacts of climate. So what we're doing, as you saw earlier, facilitating, activating, innovating, and implementing all across sectors the future economy, which is what we call equitable, diversified, regenerative, and circular. Our programs and projects span the hyper-local to the statewide and the regional, working across the arc from prototypes and pilots to policy and systems change, particularly in what we call the messy middle, bridging between the bottom-up of micro-behavior, so a lot of, I think, what you saw in the work that you're doing, and the top-down of macro design, so at the policy levels. Our work continues to be about weaving, but also tending, grieving, repairing, decolonizing the body, the collective body, the earth. It's an intimate conversation and process, often confronting and uncomfortable. Not often, daily. With my British husband, Ken, who some of you know, we included decolonizing in our marriage vows, by the way. We eyeball shame, blame, and guilt, the outsourcing of responsibility, and tend to the pain together, claim bad kin, grieve, take responsibility. It's a daily practice. The climate and nature discourse is colonial. the net zero ambition for decarbonization, when some of us emitted the lion's share and some barely did. And the ones who didn't will suffer the most and won't have the resources to protect themselves. The removing and separation of original peoples from their places of origin and livelihood. That, of course, needless to say, is colonial. I was burning up with this, although some of it results in good work, but mostly my body was burning up. And a Zen Buddhist monk said, "Drop the story." I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "How does that feel in your body?" That stopped me dead in my tracks. I've been tending to that. How does coloniality feel in my body? And it's radical, and the story has shifted. So enacting the spirit of solidarity that I came with, I ask you, how does this moment on this land and in the world feel in your body? Can we sit with that together? Hold whatever is coming up. Can we be with pain and not save, solutionize, rescue, patronize? I have a gift for Mary, Dwayne, and the team. I came here from Plum Village in France, a Zen monastery, and it's a plaque that says, "I have arrived, I am home." It's not from Borneo, so it's not going to fit in with your wall ethno items. But it's a reminder, really, and I hope you'll put it on your wall, about arriving home, each step in the body, on the land, on Mother Earth, and tending to it as home, and caring for it as home. So, lastly, since I started with the ancestors, the collective ancestors keep telling me to repair, tend together to places and ruptures, grieve, cry, sing, drum, pour libation, honor, release, heal our collective bodies and the great web of all life, quoting Joanna Macy, who's now an ancestor. What if this moment, this room, our collective resonance, is the fractal of the future? I'll let you go into discussion groups later. Thank you for this honor. Let's hang in there with each other.